On a Friday, heading into a Boise State bye weekend. Bob Behler sitting in for Johnny Mallory today. Mike Prater is alongside JP across the glass, and we are pleased to welcome former Bronco head coach Skip Hall. He was the head coach from 1987 to 1992, had a long career as an assistant at Washington before coming over here, and then has been in the business world for the last, I don't know, that'd be 30-some years. Coach Hall, pleasure to meet you.
It's great to be back. Nice to see you, Mike and Bob, and enjoy listening to you guys. Appreciate the work you do.
Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us. You spoke to the team this week, and I'm sure you've done a lot of motivational speaking and working in the business world. When you're going to speak to a team, and especially a team maybe that needs a little encouragement, maybe things haven't gone as well, what's your message? How do you attack that?
Well, after what happened last week, it reminded me of a movie I saw once, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Andy had called me on Sunday, and he just needed to talk. He was hurting. And needed to talk. And I've been kind of in a position of a senior advisor or a mentor to Andy and some of the coaches. And, I've had 30-some years of experience. I've seen most of it, done most of it. And they just need some encouragement, and that's my role. I'm the encouragement coach, and try to help them see through some dark times.
So, Coach, how do you help somebody get back? I mean, it was a game in which so many different little things had to go wrong for Colorado State to win. So how do you put it behind you, and how do you move on with the next game?
Well, you can't dwell on what was. You got to dwell on what could be. And they still have got talent. They got talent on this football team. And what I told them, first of all, was a story about when I was at Washington one year. We had talent. We had good talent. Warren Moon was the quarterback. We started off 1-3. And everybody is, oh, woe is us. Fire the coaches. Get these guys out of here. And our head coach, and this is what I encourage the Broncos to do, coaches and players. Our coach took the team into the team room after we flew back from Minnesota, got beat on a late field goal by Minnesota. The quarterback then was the announcer, the good
Tony
coach,
Dungy.
Tony Dungy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what the head coach said was this: we are not playing up to our ability. There's more potential in this room, but potential doesn't win football games. Execution wins football games. I want each person in here, coaches, players, trainers, managers, staff, to write down what they can do individually to help make our team better this next week. And we all wrote it out, things that we could do to help make us better. We handed them into the coach. Next week at practice was like World War III. We went down and beat Oregon 54-0. We won the championship and beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl.
Nice.
Now, this is the same team that was 1-3. What's the deal? Well, the deal is commitment. You've got to redouble your efforts sometimes. You've got to rewrite your goals sometimes. And that's what happened. And I think this team has got the potential. And again, potential won't win any ball games, but they got some potential to do this. And that was my encouragement to them. The other thing that I really focused on was I coached a guy years and years ago by the name of Nick Saban in college. And Nick, you ever seen Nick on the sideline when he gets upset?
Yes, sir.
Arms go every which way, his steam coming out his ears. And you know why? Somebody missed their assignment, didn't do their job. His message is do your job and do it with passion. Just don't go out there lollygagging around, and you can't quit in the middle of the fourth quarter. You got to go out there and you've got to play from the kickoff to the final whistle till that clock says 0-0-0. You got to play with passion. And I'm trying to encourage that passion part too. And then also a competitive anger. Competitive anger is necessary in athletics. And I think we've got to develop some of that because we're a young team.
Coach Skip Hall, Boise State coach, was here for many years, won many, many football games. You were 60% winning percentage. I think Boise State would love to have that right now, Coach. And I know it's been many, many years. I want to go back to what you said with the team. And I got your message, but I'm curious as to how they responded. You challenged those guys. You looked them in the eye and you challenged them. How did they respond? And what was the feedback that you got from some of those players after your message?
Yeah, they came up and thanked me. They said, "I thank you. We really needed to hear that." They were looking me in the eye. I mean, it wasn't some guys gawking around and goofing off. They care. They care. They want to win. They really do. Nobody wants to win more than those coaches or players. And they're young. The staff is young. The players are young, and they make mistakes. And you know what, guys? Most football games are lost, not won. They're lost because of turnovers, penalties, and breakdown of assignments. And those are the areas that we got to clean up on. And once we get that cleaned up and start playing like we're capable of, then I think we'll have the team that played in the second half of the game before this.
I certainly want to dive into some of that, especially on the defensive side, where I think most of the issues are you're a defensive background, you're a defensive genius, but I do want to start with your relationship with Andy Avalos, and he invited you to come speak to this team. You've been speaking to him on a regular basis. You just said you talk to him every single week. How did this relationship start? And without sharing your secrets, coaches keep that stuff close to the vest, but what is the gist of your conversations and your relationship with Andy Avalos?
Well, again, it starts with encouragement. I want to be an encourager to the coaches. A lot of them, like I say, are young. They haven't gone through all of the pain and the suffering and so forth that they're having right now, But Andy and I become good friends. We trust each other. It's nothing spectacular. It's just good, straightforward, honest conversation about what happened, what can we do to get better, and encouragement.
Visiting with Skip Hall on Idaho Sports Talk. He is Boise State's football coach from 1987 to 1992. Was a longtime assistant at Washington prior. You shared with the story about the turnaround of a Rose Bowl team at Washington. So as you're having a team a year maybe where things aren't quite going the way you want to, do you have to change your approach? Do you have to change anything as the year is going along?
Well, like I mentioned, you need to rewrite your goals. You need to say, all right, the first half of the season isn't working as well as we want it to. So we need to rewrite our goals individually, collectively, as a team, and we'll get better as a team. And I think that's really important. And if you've got serious competitors, guys that really care about it, well, they're going to turn it around. They're going to get better every week. They're going to get better. And I used to tell our players, look, I told these guys this too. Every day after practice, you got to look in the mirror and say, did I get better today? That's how you get better as a team. It doesn't happen one day, 1 week. It happens every day for a period of time. You get better and better and better. And that's when things really start to get a lot better.
Coach, let's talk about defense. When I talked to you earlier in the week, you shared a little frustration. We're all a little bit frustrated with what we're seeing. The inconsistencies is what's driving Andy Avalos crazy right now. The good first half, the bad second half. But this defense, let's have a little X's and O's conversation. What are you seeing in this defense, especially in the back half of this defense where they just keep giving up so many of those big plays that drive coaches crazy?
I had a nice conversation with Spencer Danielson Wednesday night at the barbecue. And I told him, Spencer, I'm just going to shoot straight with you. What I'm seeing out there is a lot of arm tackles, and they're running through them. We're not bringing people down like we need to. And he agreed. He said, absolutely, coach. And arm tackling is a big problem. The other thing is the first rule of playing defensive back is you don't get beat deep. You don't get beat deep. You keep people in front of you. And it's been a problem at times, and a lot of it's because of the youth. And I don't want to make excuses for these guys, because when you get on that football field, doesn't matter how old you are, you got a job to do. You need to do your job.
And if you were the coach of this team, of this defense, if you had your finger in that responsibility, with 5 games left, how do you fix it? What's the best, most efficient way to get this defense inspired to be just a little bit better?
Every day at practice, you've got to work on your tackling. Now, you don't want to get guys banged up for sure. You don't want to have that happen, but you got to spend enough time. We're not running through the tackles like we need to. We're leaving our feet. We're diving, arm tackling, which doesn't work. I mean, it's been proven many years. And the same thing's true in the secondary. If you're in coverage, and you've got a deep third, a deep half, or whatever, you can't get beat deep. You got you've got to do your job and not let that guy get behind you.
Visiting with Skip Hall, former head coach at Boise State, joining us on Idaho Sports Talk. Coach Hall, how much can you do in a bye week? Is this a good time because you have the extra time? You didn't have to get ready to play anybody tomorrow. So how would that week of practice differ than maybe if you had another game this week?
Whenever we had a bad game or didn't play up to our abilities, we didn't add new plays. We didn't bring in the double reverse pass. And what we did is we went back to the fundamentals. Blocking and tackling still win football games. It's not any gadget plays or this or that, although there's a place for that. But blocking and tackling wins football games. And this bye week gives you a chance to work on those two things, blocking and tackling.
What do you think about this 2 quarterback system, Skip Paul? It's doable. We've seen it work before. Brian Harsin went on a local interview this morning and talked about these 2 guys are very capable, but one of them has to stand up and separate. It's their responsibility to take advantage of this. And that's where he was a little frustrated that he hadn't seen anybody stand up and separate. So he loves the number 1. He loves a change-up quarterback. But in this particular case, he's not sure that this system is working. What do you see, and can it get better?
Well, I was a quarterback all the way through high school and college, and I've got a little knowledge about that. But 2 quarterbacks is hard. I'll be honest with you. It's hard. I'm not saying it can't be done, because there's times when it can be done. It can work really well. But if one of them would step up, like if Talon could just really, get that competitive anger and go out there and I would like to see him move a little more, rollouts and things, get on the corners and that type of thing. But I think it's doable. It's not the most referential, but it can be done.
You said a phrase twice that I'm going to write down after I get off of this show. And I don't know if I need any anger in my life, but I certainly need some competitiveness. And the word competitive anger can be a very, very healthy and very fruitful thing when it comes to football. And I've written a couple of columns so far this year where I've challenged their intensity, their physicality, their killer instinct to close out the opponent. That might be my way of saying competitive anger. You either have it or you don't, Coach. And I think you might agree with that. So do they have it? Do they not? Can you get it out of them? How do you teach and how do you get competitive anger?
Well, they haven't shown it consistently. Raleigh Woolsey, I don't know if you guys remember that name, but Raleigh said something the other day that, when you get your opponent down, you got your foot on their neck. You don't let your foot off that neck until the game's in hand and done. And that's so true. You cannot let up. You've got to keep going, and that competitive anger. And it's necessary in football, especially because it's a contact sport, a collision sport. You got to have that competitive anger about you.
How do you teach that, or is it just in your DNA?
Well, it's partly in the philosophy of what the staff is teaching. You can practice it. You can get them out there and you can line them up one-on-one, and you can do a lot of different things. But they've got to have. It's got to be it comes from within. The will to win and competitive anger comes from within. And sometimes you can't give that to somebody. They've got to want it. They got to want it and want it bad. Or you may have to look for somebody else.
Coach, I want to kind of ask a little bit of a fun question here, and then Prater can jump back in. Bye week.
Yep.
When you were a head coach, did you ever come up with anything really crazy coming out of a bye week? Like, no one's going to go to run the wishbone as an entire thing, but what was the craziest thing you came up with after a bye week?
Sometimes I think because we get so serious and so locked in, we forget to have fun. You can have competitive fun too.
Mm-hmm.
You can have competitive anger. You can have a competitive fun. You can do different kinds of things, whether it's shooting baskets or whatever it is. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But during the bye week, we honed in on the basics, blocking and tackling, fundamentals, and then we had fun. And we loosened up and we had fun and we enjoyed each other. Like this team barbecue is a good thing. And the players, their attitude was not real somber. It was good. I thought it was good. I thought they understand. They're hurting. But you know what? You can't dwell on that. You got to get by that, and you got to go with what can be. And that's what we're shooting for.
Former Boise State football coach Skip Hall. We're blessed to have him in the studio today, and wonderful conversation. I can't believe we haven't invited you before. We need to make this a more regular deal, Coach. What kind of college football sports fan are you these days? I know you went to the Washington game. Very emotional moment for you because that's a brotherhood on both sides for you. Watching games on the weekends, maybe sneaking out to the stadium. What is your role as a college football fan these days?
Well, I watch most of the games on TV simply because you can watch more games.
Nice.
You can see more things going on. The Broncos and the Huskies in Missouri. I spent my last 4 years at Missouri. I spent 2 years at Colorado and 4 years at Kent State. I mean, I try to follow the teams that I was a part of, but that's kind of my role now. And we'll go to a game. We went to the Washington Oregon game. They treated us really well up there. The Washington people did. It'd been a long time since we'd been back there, and they really treated us well. Broncos have always treated us well. They do a super job. If I need something, well, they'll put it together. And so yeah, that's those relationships, that means so much.
Want to ask, as someone that's been close to the Washington program for a long time, how do you think this Washington team compares with some of the better teams they've had in the past?
They're right there. Yeah, they're right there. The best overall. Well, we had a team in 1984 season. 85, we beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, 11-1. And then the Huskies, the undefeated season of 91 national champs was probably the best. But I would put this team right there in that top three.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that the other teams threw the ball nearly as well as this group, so they would have a tough time defending Penix and all his receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they got a great combination.
Coach, 6 seasons at Boise State, lots and lots of success. Certain times you didn't get the job done, and you know that. But let's take a quick trip down memory lane. When you think of those Boise State years, those 6 seasons, what comes to mind for you?
Didn't beat Idaho.
Probably the right answer, huh?
Right answer.
Yeah.
I might be still coaching.
How much did that streak grind on you?
Well, it gets to be kind of like you say, a grinder. I mean, we were so close 2 or 3 times, but we just didn't get it done. And it does wear on you. And of course, people help you remember.
Sure they do, especially around here, huh?
Yeah, especially around here. Boise's a great football town, but boy, they don't like losing. That's for darn sure. They want to fire the coach. But you know what? When I tell people I see this stuff, fire the coaches, do this and that. The coach didn't throw any interceptions. The coach didn't fumble. The coach didn't. He didn't fail. He did not fail to recover the onside kick, or he did fail, I guess. No, the coach didn't fail. The player did. So here's the deal: the players on the field have got to own it. They've got to own what they're doing out there. And there's no other way about it. You got to own it. If you make a mistake, all right, don't do it again. But that's the key. You got to own up to it. You got to work at it to get better. Like I say, every day you got to look in the mirror. Did I get better today? That's the key.
When we first put this show together, we were putting together a little trip down memory lane. We opened up the show with Mike Black, who was your kicker, and a great conversation about what he's doing right now. He said to say hello to you. He said he was still a little upset that you made him punt his junior season. He left here as one of the greatest kickers in Boise State football history, and he wanted to say hello. So Mike Black says hello, and I wanted to ask you as well, because it's a very important part of your life. And Virginia Hall at one point was the first lady of Boise State football. I know she's having some health challenges, and you're very much consumed by that. How's Virginia doing these days?
She's doing well. When I say well, she walks with a cane. She speaks pretty well. She understands everything. Obviously, she's compromised on the right side, right arm, right leg, but she's doing well. And we're still blessed to have her now. It's been 6 years. And going back to Mike Black, one thing I'll say about kickers, kickers are a little skittish, but I never had any problems with Mike Black. Mike was solid. except when we lost the triple overtime to Nevada in the national semifinals.
I wasn't going to bring that
No,
up.
I know. But we've all got a marker on it somewhere along the line. But the way I coach kickers on game day, I didn't talk to them. Because if you put something in their mind, they're going to start overthinking it, and then their balls are going to be going every which way. I just say, go, kick it. But Mike was more reasonable. I could communicate with him on game day too. But yeah, we've had a lot of great players over the years. And when I left Boise State, sure, we had a lot of good wins and all. The thing I'm most pleased of and proud of is that we improved the academic excellence in the program. When I came in after 2 weeks, I thought I'd made a huge mistake coming from Washington and bowl games and all this. And I got the grades, and the Boise State, about a third of the team was academically ineligible. And we went to work on that. When I left, over 90% of the players were graduating. The other thing was character development. We started recruiting quality guys, character guys. Because if you ask me right now, what's the most important thing in recruiting? I'm going to tell you character. Now, running and throwing and all that's pretty good too, but character is really important. And we developed a lot of great character guys. So we had a great career. Love the people of Boise, love the fans. Still glad to see they're going to the games, even though they may be complaining half the time. Why they're going to the games, supporting the team, and that's what a booster does. That's what they're supposed to do, is to sit there and cheer the team on, and through thick and thin, good, bad, and ugly.
Coach Hall, we want to thank you for stopping by here this afternoon, visiting with us on a Friday, and good to sit down and talk football with you, and we appreciate it. And I know, Mike, you said like to do this again sometime.
We'll give you a call and get you back here, bud.
Be my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Go Broncos.
And that is Skip Hall. We'll be back with more of Idaho Sports Talk. Don't forget, you can join us by either calling the Double Tap Brew Pub hotline at 208-424-9300 or text us on the Cloverdale Plumbing text line. Same number, 208-424-9300. More of Idaho Sports Talk next on Sports Radio, The Ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios.